A few words to describe your father.
A couple words that come to mind are hilarious, adventurous, fearless, and compassionate. He had just a great soul, great heart, and we were best friends.
Is there a quality that he had that you wish you had more of?
Yeah, I think he had, it was a little easier for him to let go of things. I tend to obsess a little bit more. I got some of that hair trigger anger from him, but he was back to laughter faster than I am. So maybe a little of that. But, it's bizarre. It's not until you grow up, have your own child, and assess and realize how much you get from your old man. I catch myself saying things to my daughter, and it's eerie.
And fathers and sons, there's so many nonverbal cues. Is there a way you carry yourself or that he carried himself that you think you got from him?
I think so. I mean, he loved the outdoors. He loved adrenaline fixes, whether it was skiing fast or jumping out of airplanes or heading out into the wilderness where you didn't know if there was going to be food or water. And that made a real impression on me. He was John Wayne. This guy was bigger than life. And I still remember the first time I was able to beat him down a ski run and how much pride that gave me, but at the same time a little bit of melancholy, realizing that roles are shifting and the clock is a bitch, and it wears you down. And but yeah, he was born 100 years too late, I think. He always wanted to be a cowboy, and so how cowboy boots make you walk and amble a certain way, I probably emulated that before realizing what it was in the biomechanics. But yeah, I think so. I hope so.
And he was someone who was accomplished in a lot of different areas and seemed like he really took on and explored the world. And as a reporter, do you find that influenced you and how you present things?
Absolutely. My dad was the smartest high school dropout I've ever met. He dropped out his junior year, lied about his age to join the Army, had flat feet, so he scrunched his arches up so he could get in, but was, like I say, an intellectual, a voracious reader, devoured a couple of newspapers a day, was a master of the New York Times crossword puzzle, and instilled that real sense of curiosity. He didn't have the means to travel as much as he would have, I think, and he always really got a kick out of some, assignment I'd come back from and able to download it with him. I mean, one thing that he taught me early on was that the true test of a man is what he does when he thinks nobody's watching. So a compassionate, generous atheist is the highest evolved of the species because
right.
They're doing it for goodness sake. They're not doing it because, somebody's keeping score.
Yeah.
And once he made that impression on me early on, I don't know, that for some reason that resonated with me. That's the lesson that I've carried more than most.
And do you have a favorite memory of him?
I got a million. We used to, every summer we would take some big epic backpacking or canoeing trip. And when I was just old enough for it to really make an impression, about 12 years old, we took canoes up into the boundary waters of Canada-Minnesota border, and we got rained on every day, and maybe we caught one fish. And it was
wow, you're very honest. I would have said 15 a day.
There was no
grizzly bear attack.
We had the worst luck. Every time we'd go out, we'd have the worst luck, whether it was fishing or with the weather, but I had the best time. Whether it was riding out some thunderstorm in this tent as it's whipping back and forth in the wind, we're playing cribbage inside, just laughing at our stupid luck. Those are the great memories. And the thing is, and I'm really appreciative of this, he was honest and affectionate in a way that most guys with his leanings wouldn't have been. And here's this gruff outdoor guy, but he told me he loved me every time we left. each other's presence. And his dad never did. His dad never told him he loved him. And that was a deliberate choice not to repeat that. And so, you know, the great thing about my dad is nothing was ever left unsaid. There's one thing, I suppose, you know, when my folks split up when I was about 10 years old, my mom wanted to move to another state. He had joint custody, so he had to give permission. And he let us go. And I think that bothered him for a lot of years. And the one thing I wish I could have told him is, don't worry about it. It worked out. You kept me close in summers and Christmases, and our relationship was as strong as ever. But nothing was ever left unsaid. So about 4 years ago, he was building a deck in his backyard in Colorado and had an accident, fell off, broke his neck, and didn't survive that. And I still think it was the best thing that could have happened, because he's the kind of guy who said, look, if I ever get sick, I want you to drive me out into the woods
Right,
with
yeah.
a pistol and leave me there. I don't want hospice. That's just not my style. So the fact that he was doing manual labor underneath the Colorado sky, and it was quick, is a blessing. And he had one request in his will, which is that I would take his ashes to Mount Sopris in Colorado, a mountain we climbed a couple of times when I was a kid, and just climb it and sprinkle his ashes. And it was the greatest blessing, because it gave me something to do, you know. Funerals are for the living, right? Because they need something to do.
Right,
He didn't
right.
want a funeral, but I got to finish that deck, and I got to make that hike and talk to him the whole way up. And I still think about him every day.
That's an amazing story. I really appreciate you sharing it with us.
Sure, yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's great.
Thanks, man.
Thank
It was excellent.